Hey there, how you doing? This is your Sensei Bob with his sock puppet friend. Hi, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? So, what's your name, sock puppet? Saki. My name is Saki. I like to drink. Cause I always have a little bit of buzz, but I never drive. Never drive. Well, Saki, what are you here to tell us? Well, I'm here to tell you that life is about not consumption, not taking, but it's about that you give is worth more than you get. And I think I got it right. John Lennon said it. But the real deal is what our friend, the old crone, said. What did she say? She said that don't take everything so serious. See, this is what I'm talking about. Don't take things so serious. You can wear sake, you can drink sake, but it's not what you have that makes your life worthwhile. It's what you give to others. You know? Hey, Twitch. And we get so bent out of shape about the things that don't really matter, that are insignificant. We think they're so important, but they're not. You know? How your house looks, what kind of car you have, whether you're cut. Basically, it's how you feel. If you're feeling good. So I have a lot of it, getting older every day, but so we all. And there's that song that comes from the Bible. There is a time, things turn. And you don't have to be a child for your whole life. And you don't have to be ridiculously serious your whole life. You can live your life in the moment. If you need to be serious because of certain circumstances, well, then be focused, not so much serious, focused. Whatever you're doing, you do that, right? You don't try to multitask. Multitask is like it's a irrelevant term that was invented to cause humanity to be put in a state of anxiety. Ooh, look, I'm a poet. I don't know it. So that's what you need to do is to get over yourself and just have a good time. Not by excessively doing any one thing or another, but enjoying the moment. If you're eating food, I'm I had to have all my teeth pulled out of my head. You know, Back in March, I got a pretty nasty. My different things that I have wrong with me I can get infections pretty easily. So I had to be very careful because I can get carried away. And so I got one in my tooth, and I had to have, the only thing I could really do is have all my teeth ripped out. Well, now I don't have any teeth, but it's no big deal. I can eat anything. I can't eat an apple. I'm going, oh, can't do that. Don't read teeth to bite. Can't chew meat off the bone. I can scrape the meat off the bone and eat the meat. And I can't chew, swallow. Thank you. A little more of that sweet butter. And so I have to put food in my mouth and let the juices, my saliva, break down my food. And that's really, you're supposed to chew your food 28 times. Well, thank you, dear. Say, I'll show you how it's done. So you take a little piece of whatever you're eating. This is pretty simple white bread. They bake it here fresh. So that's one good thing. It's really good when it's hot, but cool down. But they make this churned sweet butter. So I put it in my cheek like a squirrel, and I kind of move it around, and my saliva breaks it down, which is the best way you can eat. You know? And that'll stay there, being broken down my saliva. And as I talk, I actually create more saliva. So, I don't look terrible. You can't tell that I don't have any teeth. I talk relatively well. Somebody's birthday. But, that little piece of bread, I'm still breaking it down. So when it gets into my esophagus and it gets into my tummy, it will break down and will assimilate into my body better than if I just, And that's one reason why we get heartburn, because we don't masticate. So you don't need teeth to masticate. You need teeth to bite things. Now, vegetables, hard vegetables, I need to cook up. Fruits, like berries, I need to cook up. Because the skins, no matter how I masticate them with my gums, don't break up. But if I warm them up in a frying pan and then eat them, they're soft. Then they'll break down. And that's just like our lives. We have to navigate through our life to get to a place where we can manifest the best. And not any expectation. I have to do this. I have to become the greatest that. I have to become famous. I have to become rich. I have to become, no. All I have to do is take whatever in front of you and deal with it. Right? Now, if you bring people into your life, like you have children, once you have children, that's the rest. That's it. You've chosen the path of having a child in your life for the rest of your life. And so I never had any biological children. But I have 275, give or take, stepchildren, godchildren, children that I chose because I knew I could make a difference in their life, right? And especially when I lived in Manhattan, especially when I was working on a ad hoc housing coalition, right? We put 500 families into 50 buildings, and there, each of those families had extended families, and we had different. We had PS 122, which was an abandoned public school that we turned back into a school, but it was also a health clinic, and it was a food center, because where we were out in the middle of neighborhoods that there wasn't anybody for 50 or 60 blocks in any direction, So there were a lot of kids who, their parents just cut them loose, had them, and then abandoned them, Oh, it's too hard to be with them. Oh, I can't go travel to where they are. Oh, I can't take care of them. Oh, they make me anxious. I don't know what to do. Their family is, Well, what does Alex have to say? Where my other glasses go? Here they are. Alex says, "Hello, Bob. How is your day going?" 2 words. Hey, Bob, I have 3 children. Yes, and Ace, aren't they the best thing that ever happened to you, right? And human beings are the best thing that can happen to you. Yeah, they might make you anxious. A big deal. If you hang out with them, you'll find out what makes those people make you happy. And then you're not anxious anymore. My folks, my dad was a triple Virgo colonel in the Air Force. He was always right. Did you ever see the movie The Great Santini? That was my dad, except he didn't fly airplanes and he didn't beat us up. But he screamed and yelled like that. But I always stood back. I got out of the way. I didn't, I was in the room, but didn't get swept into the commotion. And, as of age 9, my grandma took care of me until 7. She brought me back into the family. And 7, 8, 9, I started hanging with Grandpa Stoll and going to, instead of, the Catholic school where the nun beat me up in first grade, I hung with a group of Maryknoll priests and nuns who taught me great wisdom, right? And one of the greatest wisdoms I learned was to listen to what they had to say and not say anything, but just listen. And when I spoke only that thing that made the most sense in the moment. Right? Pose a question, be question. Statement. But I never had to prove myself or push myself as being right. It was just what it is in the moment. So I was happy. So Ace has kids, and I'm sure those are, the greatest thing in his life. And he spends, he chose to have 3 kids, and so he, spends his life with them. He navigates his life around them. Well, hey, so all you got to do is give them yourself. You don't need to give them any toys, anything, And my parents, my dad was a colonel in the Air Force, and he had a good life. He wasn't a general, so he wasn't going to become really rich, but he was a colonel, so he had a big house, he had servants, all the above. But he was never going to make the big bucks. So my mom said, you got to quit, get a job, make some big bucks. Well, that interim period from the Air Force to him making big bucks was about 10 years. And in the first 4 or 5 years, we lived in a that's why, when I was brought home, they put me out on the, sunroom. It was really the back porch and, in a dresser drawer, because they didn't want, there was no room in the house. The dog got to sleep inside the house, but I had to sleep outside. And I was brought home in February. I mean, they had a big radiator there, so I wasn't freezing to death, but it was, out there. But it was, I'm writing a new novel called, I forgot what it's called, but it's the last 3 parts of it is called Black Widow and Hot Pants. Moral majority, family values, Black Widow and Hot Pants. That's the name of the novel. And so, and it describes a lot of things about my life and the world around us. I mean, everything's a metaphor, I'm the bard of metaphor. And so if you go to my channel, xratted.blogspot.com, you will see my writings, right? So give it a look. And you can get a hold of me at Gmail, thedudeawake42@gmail. But, Ace, don't worry about stuff. So my parents never, those first, I remember when I was 6, I was 6, I always got my sister's stuff. My first bike was pink. I got my sister's bike. When I was 6, that was, a big birthday for me. And they got me a cowboy outfit. And my sister got really bent out of shape that I got it. So she cried and screamed. And so they took the cowboy outfit off of me and gave it to my sister. I didn't care. It was no big deal. I wore the cowboy suit for a few moments. My dad took a picture of me with it, and then my sister wore it. Then she threw it away, and I got it back. But I was always wearing my brother's clothes and my sister's stuff. But that didn't matter. The thing that I liked best were the moments when my parents could be the better self. And of all their kids, I was the one kid who they could share that with. The rest they were screaming at, jumping up and down. Me, I never challenged anything. My father would scream out orders, and I would say, "Yes, sir, right away, sir," and go up and do whatever the heck I wanted because colonels never check up on things. They got sergeants. Well, when my dad quit the Air Force, he no longer had sergeants. So I basically enjoyed the better parts of my parents. And my dad had this characteristic of he loved vacation. He loved summer vacation and our spring break. And he would take us places and we'd do crazy stuff. And my dad, when he was on vacation, he was on vacation. And the reason he did it was to take it with us, right? Push us all in the station wagon. We had one of those Woodies. And there were 6 of us. So we were like, squished in there. And so, and my mom always brought way more bags than we really needed. So, hey, R, how you doing? So, he would, and as he got more money, our vacations, like when I was about 11, he got a house. He started renting houses in really nice places. So he went out to this place in Long Island called Oldfield. It was the last on the line of the Long Island Railroad. So he could take the train into work, into Manhattan. And he had to get up an hour early and take the train in, right? But he rented this beautiful house that was right on the Long Island Sound. We could just take it was like a third of a mile, if that, from our back door. But it was a nice, beautiful kind of on one, not 2 stories, 1 story, big kind of. It was house made in the 30s and it was part of a estate. So it was a big house and then 2 other little houses. And this was like a guest house. It had 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a big, beautiful kitchen, an amazing living room that had these French doors that went out to a gigantic covered patio that went out to a gigantic lawn, like at least an acre of lawn. And they had guys come and mow things, so we didn't have to do anything, right? And we had croquet, badminton, and bocce, and we had no television. And my dad bought this thing called a Hi-Fi, before stereo, Hi-Fi. And he bought a big thing of classical records, and he bought a thing of the Kingston Trio, and who else? 2 other Kingston Trio, 3 other kind of, whatever they call that. Peter, Paul, and Mary, I think, and also, I think there were 3 others. And that's what we had. And this house had, in the living room, there was a corner that was like the library. It had a ton of books. And that's really where I started. I was a big reader up until then, because the thing that my mother loved to do when I was a little kid was to read books with me. Right? We'd read them. I'd read a paragraph, she'd read a paragraph. And we read really, I picked the books and I would go in the bookstore with her and I would pick, Stuart Little and really funny kind of books of that nature. And we read all the Stuart Little books. We read The Wizard of Oz. We read all the Wizard of Oz books. There were quite a few. We read all the, Alice in Wonderland. We read, a whole bunch. And so, and my mother loved to do that. And I did it with she didn't do it with anybody else because the rest of my brothers and sisters, Mom, hey, let's do it, Mom. And so we would read together. And then by the time I started reading all these books, we were in this place in Oakfield, and I would read it, and I'd say, Mom, here, read this book. And so she would read it, and then we'd talk about it, and we would read to each other the parts we liked best of the book. And that was like, so I always had that with my mom. And my mom she had worked in a hospital, and all these sick people would get flowers, and then they die, and she'd take the flowers home. She had a big apartment in Queens, and so she loved to cut flowers. So I'd go out there and cut, a couple of flowers from this bunch, because they really had this place Macked out. It had been a beautiful place since the 30s. And they had nice gardeners, and they had section. I asked the gardener, so you go, "Oh, over here, take a look at this. This is a place that we actually got, so you can cut flowers and put them in the house." And so I would cut the flowers from my mom, and we would cut them and arrange them, and there were all these vases there, and we had cut flowers all around the house. So I shared reading books and flowers with my mom all the way to the last day of her life. From the time I was around 9 till the day she died. And I didn't bother with anything else. I could have kvetched about, my brother still has this issue with all my brothers and sisters have issues with my parents about some singular thing. Oh man, I could have, my parents sent me off to die at a seminary, I got beat the crap up, ended up in a hospital. I called my dad up and he was in Europe. Yeah, what do you want? I said, Dad, get me out of here. I got broken ribs and broken wrists and get me out of here. And he said, oh, tough it out, click. He sent me off to college. He gave me $10. That was it. I didn't see my parents for another 8 years. And my brother kept saying, oh, you made your choices. No, yes, I made my choices not to be miserable around my family. I went off and had my own life, and that's why I had all these interesting experiences. Right? Put on these glasses, see if I can read it. Anybody? Yes, Robinson. You miss your grandma. Me too. So I was brought up by my grandma, right? The first 7 years of my life, my grandma took care of me. And the bottom line, I remember one time, so I don't remember, I was born, and then about 6 months after I was born, my grandfather died. He had a heart attack. And so, he was a barber his whole life. So he was standing, and he died, in his barbershop, keeled over, right? And so I remember asking my grandma, when I was about 16, I said, Grandma, do you think about Grandpa? She said, oh, he's with me every day. I said, with you? Oh, yes, he's right here. He's right here. Right here. I'm here, Grandma's here, Grandpa was here. And she goes, here, breathe deep. And the first person I ever meditated with wasn't some swami, it was my grandma. We got into state, and I could see my grandpa. There he was, and he was happy to be there. So, Robinson, you can be with your grandma, right? And so we're going to do that right now. We're going to go into state, everyone. So sit down, get yourself comfy, close your eyes, breathe deep. Breathe in that 20%. Fill your lungs. And you're breathing. When you're at the top here, your diaphragm lifts, your aorta opens up, all those little cilia in your lung sacs receive, the prana, the karmic energy of the universe that animates us all. And we ground our breath out into the ground, into our chi, and we make a circuit from Father Sky to Mother Earth, right? See it clearly. So breathe in that 20%, breathe out that 30%. Get into that place where you can illuminate yourself with that photonic light, because when you breathe in that prana into your lungs, your blood carries it to every cell. And when you do that, you see it going to that cell. You see your cells are going through splitting, and surrounding that process is mitochondria. It's like little lightning bolts around the cell. And that causes the RNA to unzip. And then you have to, and it takes as it unzips, it takes the DNA and the swirl into each cell. So when that RNA zips open and you're looking into the lightning bolts that are being energized by the prana, Robinson, that's when you can look in and see the photonic light and illuminate your imaginary mirror. That's where we dream, where we have our REM sleep behind our eyelids. That's your imaginary mirror. And when you go into state through your breath, you inhale the prana and you eliminate all the anxiety, all the fear, all the self-loathing. You let it out, right? And so when you open that up and you are in your imaginary mirror, Robinson, right now, You're illuminated with that photonic light. And there's your grandma. So go sit down with your grandma. Have a nice talk with her. Go on, Robinson. Go on. And everybody else, the other 6 of you who are tagging along, go into your imaginary mirror and see whoever you want to see. See yourself being whatever you want to be. Letting go of whatever anxiety you might have. Right? See it clearly. Enjoying the view? So welcome home, everyone. You're here at Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, and I am your Griot Sensei Al Bob. Now, first and foremost, I want to tell you, don't believe anything I say. Huh? I'm not here to be held up as a expert. I'm no expert. What I am is a griot, a person who tells you a story that gives you insights to questions that you may have. Okay? I'm here to help you, to guide you, open and give you the ability to see things illuminated with photonic light. Photonic light does not shine a shadow. It's the light of love's co-creation. Whereas the illumination of Lucifer, the great trickster who, brings forth everything that's the illusion here. This is all an illusion. See how this is kind of illuminated behind me, right? But it kind of looks like foggy day. No, it's the illumination of Lucifer. That's an illusion out there. It doesn't really exist. And we have fooled ourselves, allowed ourselves to be hoodwinked by this illusion, right? And we can let that go. We can be who we want to be. We don't have to be controlled by stress. We don't have to be controlled by anxiety, because these are artificial structures of the hidden hand, it's a form of mind control. And that mind is just, the desperate little squirrel in the cage in our head. They thought it was funny. But you have to, your CPU is your heart. And from your heart runs through your lungs, up through your higher self, to your higher chakras. There's a golden thread that takes you to heaven. And that's why we're here. We're here to learn how to ascend to a higher state of consciousness, that one of photonic illumination, that one that co-creates with love. So in every day and every way, you take the piece of the earth and you make it stronger. Right? And that's why we bring loved ones into our family, not to feel stressed. Why did I take care of my parents for the last 28 years of their life? First of all, I didn't think it was going to be 28 years. I thought, they'll last a few more. But no, I agreed to be their caregiver because I wanted to make sure that I got to really experience my parents in the most positive way. And so when they died, I'd have no, I did this to me. No. So I would have a clear path. Yes, they had their, issues, but in reality, they were good people, as all humans are in reality, good people, no matter how cruddy they can be. That cruddiness comes from the fact that they let themselves be manipulated by the stress of the world around you. Yep. You saw your grandma's kind heart, right? So we all have them. But we can wall our kind heart off by the illusion of the material world's stress and anxiety, which don't really exist. You don't have to be stressed out. I mean, where I am out in the woods, there are a lot of creatures. I mean, a lot of creatures. You guys talk, oh, tell us about, you know, Bigfoot. Well, Bigfoot comes around now and then, but more in my dream time than in my sitting out in the backyard. There are other creatures who come that are, in essence, scarier, but they're not because I see them not as scary, but just as dimensional characters, and I let them walk through because where I am, just like the school is like Grand Central to paranormal environment. Now, I'm not there anymore, and Inga's not there anymore, and pretty much um, the spirit guides have left, and there's that. I don't know if you watched John's latest. I don't know if it's his latest, but one of his. He showed one of this deer that's coming by, and the deer is actually an avatar, and it's one of the spirit guides of the school, the last one of the older ones, because it can't. I mean, there used to be box turtles. It was every kind of reptile up at the school imaginable, right? And when I showed up, there were snakes, in the house, down in the basement. There were copperheads and rattlers. And I went down there. I said, listen, you better get out of town or go away from the school. Go down the hill, go out in the woods, find yourself a nice little nook, but not here because, in a week or two or three, the owls are going to show up. And if you're still here, you're all going to go. And so most of them left. And most of them thanked me and left. I'm good. Yeah. You might warm my coffee up a little bit. And you could bring me my check, and you could bring me a hot coffee to go and a glass of ice to go. Mm-hmm. And so when John and him left, there were 3 or 4 really nasty ones, who represented the Lucifer side of the reptile world. The reptiles are not, they are a very nice clan. The frogs, the toads, salamanders, and other snakes are really, really nice. And so for all the years I were up there, were these big box turtles, right? And they were toads that would sing to me at night, And when it's been 3 years since I've really been up there. I mean, most of the time, John goes on about how he's. Anyway, I won't even go there. I mean, I haven't been to school for 80 days, And in the middle of those 80 days, about 2 weeks ago, I had to go to the doctors, and John's, oh, come, I miss you, come on up. Well, he couldn't stand me there for more than 4 hours. So I've been gone for 72 to 80 days. And it's been fine for me. But the spirits have waned. And John has made the school his own, which is fine. I left it as it was pretty much. Thank you, dear. Mm-hmm. And but the last spirit there is a deer. And I don't know if you saw Harry Potter movies, but the deer was a Patronus, And what was that magical spirit? But the love of his parents, Harry. Why Harry survived is that Harry's mother protected Harry from the unmentionable one. So that deer is hanging out there because it's trying to protect John from John's darker side. And John picked that house because It's a psychic portal, and this place has a great opportunity to help John become what he wants to be, what he's meant to be. And if you look at John's videos, they're quite interesting. They're quite deep. And again, I keep calling John the canary in the coal mine, and that's exactly what he is. So he's really representing, just like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is great because he is showing the whole world what America is. America is Donald Trump. Corporate structure is Donald Trump. The United States isn't any of that, home of the brave, land of the free. Sorry. It's not. Go read, or Chris Hedges is an amazing scholar. He comes from a religious background, theological background, like I have. He's a scholar, but he took the path of being a journalist. So for a good 30 years, he worked New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and a whole bunch of other folks, and kept telling the truth. So he kept getting fired because all those media outlets are owned by the corporations. I mean, there's 5 corporations that rule everything control everything And so, that's that's a problem. And so, that's good. So, all around you is magic. And that's who the old crone was. She was a personification of magic. And what is magic? One man's magic is another man's technology. And I have lived with many shamans, many magicians, many alchemists. And it isn't like hocus pocus. No. There's actually a motif to all of this. And the most important one is make peace with wood spirits. Yeah, and that's what I've done. I've lived all around the world. And one thing I've learned, travel is a really great thing because it makes you appreciate. Oh, I haven't done it yet. The thing about travel is it makes you appreciate wherever you go, there you are. And that the world isn't about you. It's about how you assimilate it into your experience. And that we are all our relations, that we're all connected. We're all part of the great link. And that was one of the great things about Star Trek, is that it always it pushed the envelope in trying to express the bigger picture, And, Deep Space Nine I like that the best because it had all these different cultures living right there, right? Like a Walmart in space. And so, Odo, was a shapeshifter. But he was more than that. Once he kind of found his people and realized that they all came from this pond. And I keep talking about how you need to be the pebble in the pond. And that's what we are. We need to be that pebble in the pond. And so, in my travels, I kind of saw that we're all our relations. And the more I hung out with indigenous people, no matter Africa, Australia, the Southwest, South America, they were all the same. They were coming from the land, coming from their heart. And I bumped into 3 different tribes. Then I was the first white guy they ever saw. Right? And I just fit in. We couldn't even communicate. It was kind of had to it was like being Marcel. I had to be mine. And so we're there. And then I was there long enough where I heard them call things, so I could start calling them too. I mean, they didn't learn English. I learned their language. And it was more by telepathy. And that was really the thing I realized is that we in the material world we're the guys who had the band Devo, the Evolutionary. That's what happened. The people who thought they were smarter than God built this Tower of Babel. Hey, how you doing? And so,
I'm not home. I won't be home till next week.
How about some thumbs up, kids? Anyway, so,
All right, bud.
so, Anchors Away, is that a Marine song or a Navy song? Navy.
Well, Marines report to Navy.
I know that. You can blur the line between the two. I understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Navy.
So, and that's, the military is probably one of the best entities the United States has ever put together. It's the first thing that ever was segregated, first thing that ever allowed women, in their midst, and the first one to deal with racism and sexism. I mean, they're still dealing with it, but they're at least dealing with it. The rest of our culture sure isn't, And that's what's great about Donald Trump, because he's not pussyfooting away. He's showing how misogynist he is, how racist he is. And that's America, because that's the only way the hidden hand, the powers that shouldn't be, and the sock puppets can manipulate the masses. I mean, the guys who rule are, less than 1,000. So how can they, rule over 7 billion? Well, they have to keep everyone at each other's throats. That's why we have all these wars going on, we went into all these places because it was, for humanist, no, we didn't kill 1 million people. If you put all the wars that we started in the last 2 decades, we killed 1 million people. We spent over $12 trillion. Where'd that money go? Can you just imagine? I mean, we could pay, everyone could go to Harvard, everyone could have, health care, everyone could, if you dumped that $12 trillion into the American economy through the American citizens, this place would be, and that's why they didn't do it, because it would have, gotten everyone really moving forward, and they don't want us to move forward. That's why we had Donald Trump, to drag us backwards. So we got a choice to either be our better self or to allow ourselves to de-evolve, to be cruel, be mean, be, and that's why John's such a great avatar of this, because he's really sweet and kind and nice and mean and cruel and horrific at the same time. And he's not conscious of either of them. They're like two sides of the same coin. Because you see him, when he was talking to that deer, that's his kind, sweet self, And he was communicating with that wood spirit, but he didn't know that. He didn't know. He couldn't let go. He couldn't let himself connect. So what he had to do, go show you the big screen TV he just got, And that's why John's videos are brilliant, because without him really writing a script or knowing, he is speaking to the issues at hand. Now, I, your Briat, can take them apart and tell you about them and describe them. And who is what guy? John? John? Robinson, you don't know who John Birmingham is? He's the guy. John Birmingham is a guy who bought my school at a school in the mountains of the Blue Ridge of Virginia. No, what guy? Anyway, we're all the same person, really, more or less. 45 minutes and 17 minutes. And it's about 1:30. So I'll speak for about half an hour, 20 minutes more. You got any more questions? Twitchy, hey, outside entities so interested in why are outside entities so interested in meddling in the physical down here, but people here are so interested in ascending out of here? Good question. Well, because people here don't realize what this is. This is the Garden of Eden, right? And in a lot of ways, we're the best of both worlds. We're spiritual entities in a physical avatar to navigate this physical playground, have experiences, become a richer entity, right? And the richness is the richer, it's not like Donald Ebenezer Scrooge Duck, where he's got the vault and he's go swimming in his money. No, the real deal is that you share, everything you got. That's why I do these live chats, to share with everybody. And the more more I'm that pebble in the pond, and that we are all, shapeshifters in that lake, like Odo of Deep Space Nine. And once he kind of experienced that, instead of letting go, what did he do? He came back to Deep Space Nine and he realized he loved all these human beings, instead of like, he kind of wanted to help them, which he could. So he did. And that's I'm like Odo in Deep Space Nine, I'm not a shapeshifter, but in my spiritual side, as a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist, I'm here to help. And that's exactly what, Odo was the cop on the beat, right? He was the closest thing they had to a shrink, too, because everybody else was kind of so busy with their whatever. So anyway, and the guys on the outside who are trying to get here are kind of jealous because they're stuck in the ether. And unless they can, that's why when I took you guys to Shambhala and showed you all these great philosophers, scientists, characters from history and novels who were living, existing in a physical form in Shambhala, they had the best of both worlds because they were conscious of both of them. Because the guys who were on the other side who were trying to interject into here, they're as asleep as we are. They're not ascended at all. They're asleep. So that's the bottom line. So throw me some questions. Otherwise, I'm going to. Andrew, good to see you, buddy. Robinson. No, I'm not homeless per se. I'm living out in the woods. There's a big difference. Homeless is when, you're. Homeless is an interesting experience because I work with homeless people. They kind of let go of who and what they are, and kind of get into a morass of not being able to go any further than being stuck. So I'm not stuck. I'm living in the woods. Yep. And, so I'm as free as a bird, so I'm not tied down to any ownership of anything, um, you know. So that's a good thing. And I kind of was that way for the last, 30, 40 years. I mean, I had stuff. I actually I was making a good living working for the Desperate Warriors, but I had let go of a lot of things. I had let go of myself. That's why I gained almost 300 pounds and died in a plate of spaghetti, you know. But I was brought back because I wasn't done, My master said, "Hey, welcome home. Good to see you. But you can stay here. But if you don't finish what you went down to do, you'll have to go back there anyway. So why don't you stay there? And, all of the things that you're going to have to live with because of what you just put yourself through, that'll help you sharpen up your pencil." So, boop, 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 boop. Thank you, bud. So, no, I'm not homeless. I got a tree and a hammock, and it's all good. And with this global warming, it was 91 yesterday. Last night it was 76 at night. Normally it's 50 by now. So my sense of things is going to, be, look forward to my newest novel. You know, Family Values, Black Widow and Hot Pants. Boo. So I'm not homeless, and I have loads of friends in the woods who come and visit me. So lately, I go to bed when the sun goes down. So that's about 8, 9 o'clock. When they drop the clock, that'll be around 7 o'clock until 4 o'clock. And so once it gets dark, I go to bed, Unless I'm writing something and then I'm in a jag and I might be up for another 2 hours. But, I definitely go to bed by 11. So I sleep until 5, 6 o'clock. And I wake up, I water the flowers, put my shoes on, and I go watch the stars. I mean, the best time to see the stars is before the sun rises. Right? That's when it's its darkest. So this morning, the stars were amazing. I normally can't tell you which is which, but I could this morning. I could see all the planets. I could see the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, the North Star. And so it was beautiful this morning. And so I went in and I wrote for an hour, and then it was the sun wasn't up, but the sky was starting to be blue, so I could walk around without falling over. And so I made breakfast outside. I cook outside, and so I sat there and I do mash. Mash is whatever you had last night mashed up, and you add 2 or 3 eggs to it and some cheese, and then you stir it up. I have this gigantic cast iron frying pan, so it's like a griddle, and I have a glass top, so I put it on top, and it cooks up very nicely. And once the top starts bubbling, I open it, I scrape it up, I turn it over, and it's all nice and crusty on one side, and then I get it crusty on the other side, and then I turn off the heat, put the top back on, make either tea, hot water, or coffee. Like I'll have coffee now for 2 days. And so I sat there watching the sun come through the trees, drinking my coffee. I had an old stogie. I had a little tobacco is a sacramental tool. The smoke, why the Indians smoked, in a pipe, because the smoke would take their prayers up to the great peacemaker, right? And whenever they did a sweat, they would have tobacco ties. They would put tobacco, a piece of cloth, tie it up on top of the sweat, and your prayer would be in that. So as the heat would go up, it would take the tobacco. So Indians didn't smoke tobacco like we did. They never got addicted. It was a spiritual tool. Same with me. I still have. I used to go to Florida, and I used to go through Tampa, and there was a guy I did a nightclub in Tampa for, who had all these Cuban women who would make these. They were Cubano cigars. They made them in Tampa, and I would, so he gave me boxes of these. These suckers are still good. So I got a box or two left. So, one cigar lasts me a week or more, or more. Normally I don't. But this morning, ceremonially, I smoked a bit of a cigar and puffed on it and drank my coffee and said my prayers, and took it from there. So I'm living in heaven, and we all are. But I can appreciate it because I put myself here. My brother goes, "You made your choices." Yep, and pretty much I am. So what does Alan have to say here? Alan, let's see. Well, Alan, if you like my show, I have 700 of these shows here on Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. I would suggest if you have a dartboard, throw a dart and you'll get a number. If it's 12 or 114 or 260 or 444, go to that show and watch it. They are all shamanic ceremonies. They're all energized, right? And instead of being interrupted by John, which, John and I, when we did all those videos, we did have a kind of chemistry. We were kind of like, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. And the interesting thing was, John and I kept switching back and forth. Sometimes he'd be Jerry, sometimes he'd be Dean, vice versa. And the sad thing about John is that he wanted to be known as the star. I mean, those, I don't know, get 30 or 40 together. And they all got 19, 20, 40,000 views. But he got all the money. But he wanted, people kept telling him to shut up because they wanted to hear my stories. But that was part of the chemistry. And his interruption, his whatever. Because John has this, I don't want to use the word naive. That's not quite it. But Grandma Moses, before, when she was it for art, there was a term for her art form. And that's kind of what John is, what Grandma Moses was. So get the dartboard, Alan. Yep. And I suggested to all of you, go get the dartboard. And the other thing I suggest is, come on, let's have some more thumbs up, some more subscribers. The other thing I'd like is some more, comments after the show. And go back and watch them and put the comment, you see, a show a month or so or 5 months ago. So I've been doing this for a year. And let's see, May, June, July, August, September. So I've been doing this for a year and 4 months. So that's like 16 months. And I keep talking about the window of opportunity, and it's getting smaller and smaller. It used to be 20 months window of opportunity. Now we're down to the window of opportunity of 14 months. And I started this because, so first, John does everything through he can't interact with human beings unless he has his phone in between, right? So he used to just do videos without me knowing or getting my permission or anything. And he started putting them up on his channel, and people got interested in the stuff I was talking to him about. And so he started doing it, and I said, what are you doing? And so I noticed that he was putting, then I noticed, 10,000, 20,000, 30, 40,000 people watching the show. And, and John just got more twigged out about the fact that people just wanted to watch me and not him. So that's when he started throwing me under the bus and out of the school. And then he had nobody to talk to, and then he got where he is now. So I haven't been back to school for 70 something days. I went back a couple of weeks ago because I had to have some work done on me. And he said, "Oh, I miss you. Why don't you come and stay with us, and we can have a good time, and we won't argue, and da da da." So I said, "Sure." So he came. "Oh, can you buy me a case of beer?" I did. I spent my last $16. I'm buying him a case of beer, and I got there, and within an hour he was, and he went upstairs. So I went to bed. 3 hours later, he's pounding on me. "You gotta get out!" He threw me out in the dead of night. Now I can hardly see, to read this thing. I have to put on Uncle Bugna, it's good to see you, buddy. Uh-huh. So anyway, John, I'm not there, so I can't tell you about John. But I watch his videos because he's a great barometer of humanity. And I put down a little, comment, of like when he did the one of the deer, and then he had to show us his new big screen TV and all the new stuff he's got, his stuff. I mean, he doesn't have a life, he's got stuff. Or things. He's got things. Stuff is more like when you have a favorite ball cap or a book you like. That's stuff. But when you are trying to have amends about, I got to impress, so I got to get myself this or that. That's things. Oh, so, anyway. And so whenever you're in a relationship and it lasts a while, there's always going to be residue. And when I kind of twigged on what John was, this alchemical canary in the coal mine, and that he really represents what's going on in the world around us. Like the last one where there was this actual creature that came from the woods to try to communicate with him, and has been, meaning it's been coming regularly. He came when I was there the last time. I was sitting out, and the big dog was there, and the big dog came by, and they said, "Oh, where have you been? I've missed you so much. Where have you been? Scratch my ear." And so we were sitting up there, and this deer came out of the woods and saw us both. And the big dog looked up at the deer, and I said, "Sit down." And the big dog sat down, and I said, "Now that's not just a deer for you to go run after. That is a wood spirit." And the big dog looked at me like, "Hmm?" And I said, "Yeah." So I said, "Spirit, say hello to Big Dog. Big Dog, say hello to Spirit." So they both said, "What?" And the deer came over, and so this deer was like almost to the Big Dog and me, like maybe 6 feet away. He kind of came over, and I talked to the deer. I said, "So welcome back. I haven't seen any spirits here since I've been gone. It's good to see you." And I said, "So you're here to help John?" And basically, Spirit said, "Yep." And then John opened up and said, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" And he came running down, and both Big Dog and the deer took off. And I tried to explain to John what it was, and it got him anxious. And so I said, "Okay." And so John wanted to run through his laundry list, you know. And John, again, and for most people who are anxious and stressed out, is that they have a laundry list. How am I going to pay my bills? No, I want to be famous. The most important thing is this. I don't do, you know, and it just goes on and on and on. And Floyd said, whenever you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome, that's pure sign of you're nuts, you know. And he used that technical term, nuts. Now, we all do that in some way or another. We all have, we all trend in certain ways. We all look, we have, you know, and when I talk to people, I say, oh, you're prejudiced. Oh, I like black people. Well, no, that's not prejudice. That's racist. Prejudice is when you have a belief, when you have an opinion and you believe your opinion is the only, you know, you express your opinion and then someone says, well, what do you think of this? And they say, no, you're wrong. Well, that's called the prejudice. Hey, Lana, good to see you, girl. Oh, yeah. And so we all have that, but those who are trying to open up their mind don't see that their opinion is true. You know, it's more my opinions. I try not to have beliefs. You know, it's hard not to have an opinion because the way we're wired, we have opinions. But you don't have to believe in them. You can have an opinion. You know, one of my opinions is that Donald Trump is the best thing ever happened to America. Now people, what are you talking about? Because they jump to their belief that you know, Donald Trump is the worst thing ever happened. That he's a demon. He's a devil. And other people think he's like a god, and he's neither. What Donald Trump is that he is, you know, he has no ability to gauge or you know, pull in or shut his, you know, if Donald Trump had put his phone away and never used it once he got voted in, he'd be thought of as the best president ever, right? Now, stuff's coming down. I mean, Donald he doesn't realize, you know, he had a TV show called The Apprentice. Who owned the TV show? NBC. Who owned NBC? General Electric. Who is General Electric? The number one military industrial contractor on the planet. You know, and who was The Apprentice? Donald Trump was The Apprentice to be the chump as president. He didn't realize he was getting set up. I mean, he had a comfortable life. He didn't have to come down that escalator. He could have shut the frack up and just stayed where he was. You know, skimming off the top, being a flim-flam man, you know. But no, he took the bait, you know, and he was set up, you know, when Obama made those few jokes at that dinner, he was set up, you know. So everything that goes on in the media has a script. Nothing is organic. Nothing is live. It's all set up. Tennessee. Did you ever? There's one of my favorite bands is a band called what's it called? It's a black group, Arrested Development, and they have a song called Tennessee. They got some really good songs. Same old same. Yep, same. And what's nice about Tennessee is that it's a long, narrow state. So it kind of goes from Virginia to Texas, right? And everybody's in between, right? And then they're right up there in Ohio and Illinois, Mississippi, Great Lake. I mean, it's really interesting. West Virginia. So, and it's like wherever what's the interesting thing about Tennessee, it's kind of a shapeshifter state because wherever it is, it's near West Virginia. It's kind of like West Virginia. It stops kind of being mostly Tennessee, and it's kind of like West Virginia. When it's near North Carolina, it's kind of mostly like North Carolina. When it's near, Illinois, that's what I like about Tennessee. And the things in the middle along 40 are Nashville and the other two big cities are really special. Nashville is a great town. So, and I'm like right in the middle of all of that. And that's why I love where I am at. I'm not any one singular thing, right? I'm like within 40 or 50 miles of all of that and going 40 or 50 miles in any of those directions. And I hit North Carolina or West Virginia or Virginia, I'm near all of that. I'm not too far from Nashville. I mean, if I had money to put gas in my tank. So that's why if any of you want to come to visit, I could show you a great time. I know the state, why I know all the circular states, especially West Virginia and Virginia. I've been part of those states and North Carolina. I have friends in all, I used to be the cultural provocateur of Asheville. One of the reasons Asheville is the way it is what I did in 91 to 96. And so I've got a lot of good friends there. And in all these places, I have a lot of contacts with people who I haven't seen in 20 years. If I show up, it'll be like I just saw him yesterday. And it will be like, we'll have the best of times. So anybody wants to come and, who has a better car than mine, my car just gets me to wherever I need to go. And I can't stress it out too much. I can't go road tripping with it because I got no money to get it fixed. If it dies, it dies. So anyway, and around here, I have enough friends and good vibes. About a month ago, the back part of my vehicle exploded, and I was out in the middle of nowhere. I was 50 miles from the nearest anything on a road where there was nobody, and my cell phone didn't work. Now I could have gotten really upset and cursed and jumped up and down, and I just kind of got out of my car, looked at, and it was amazing because my car was on the ground on the rims. Both the tires were, and the explosion and destruction of my tires kind of took out the back of my car. And so I was going, So I just kind of prayed a little bit, and there was no cars coming by, and I looked at my phone and no signal whatsoever. And I'm like 50 miles the closest anything, and I'm in the heart of the Sawtooth Mountains. Then I go, at least it's a nice day, and it's at least 10 in the morning, so I got all day to figure out what to do. And I see coming down the road, and because the mountains are doing this, I can see like a vehicle up here, and then it goes down there, and then I can see it up here, and then it goes down there, and then it comes up the glass top, and it comes towards me, and it's a wrecker. Oh, look, it's a wrecker. And I kind of flag it down, and I don't even, he stops, he kind of backs up, and he looks, puts his wrecker over here, and looks at the back, and he goes, wow. And I said, and on the side of his truck, it says Firestone. And there are no Firestone tire stores within 100 miles of where I am. And I go, I don't even say, what the heck are you doing out here? I go, Firestone, all these tires are from Firestone. And I got the road, wreck kind of thing. And so he goes, what's your phone number? He puts in his little computer. Oh, yeah, there you are. And what's it called? Road. It's like when you hit something and it wrecks your tire. They'll give you a new tire, right? So he looks at it, and he looks at that the tires are no longer existing except like little flailed parts of rubber on the rim. He goes, yeah, that's pretty much road wrecked, So he comes around, and he basically puts my spare tire on the one that's totally wrecked. And he puts some air in the other one that still can hold a little bit of air, and he kind of puts it up on the wrecker, and then he ties it down, and we drive off to his shop. It's 100 miles away. Now, the road wreck thing covers anything 60 miles or closer, right? So we drive, and he goes, well, that's about 60 miles, and he hits the button. And so from that point to where we get to the Firestone place is less than 60 miles, so I don't have to pay for it. So they take it into the bay, they look at it, and the guy comes over to me and goes, well, yes, both of your tires are, are covered by our insurance thing, and your towing is covered. And by the way, I've got all these coupons, and we can, if you want to have this, this, and this done, we can put those coupons to it because this is so bad, it fits those coupon things, and da 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 da. Oh, and by the way, we have nobody's in any of our bays, so we can start working on your car. We'll probably get you out in 2 hours. So they check everything. They do a total and everything check of my car, and they basically redo the back end of my car. And so after 3 hours, he comes and goes, okay, you're all done. I go, so what do I owe you? He goes, $17. So I have 2 brand new tires. I have 2 new kind of bally things that connect my tires to the transmission. They've taken the transmission fluid out and replaced it with new. They have changed all the screens and everything. They read new oil change, new everything, filled topped everything, put new antifreeze in. I got it ready, gave it a winter thing, all for $17. So the fact that my car was totally wrecked in the rear, and I didn't get upset. I prayed and said, okay, I'm letting go. The universe brought the Firestone guy from 100 miles away and took me there and redid my whole car for $17. Meaning if I went to them or anybody else to get like oil change, filter change, and that would have cost me $40. But they redid the guy said, okay, your car's in pretty good shape. You need a ball joint over here and your strut needs the whole thing, but you got time to do that. So that's how we have to face life. If something really, and that's semi-catastrophic, when I got out of the car, and look how wrecked the back of my thing was. I said, thank you, because I was doing about 60 on that road when my tires failed. Ooh.
Good save, sorry. Good save.
So that's how we have to. Yep. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying here. I was going to get the dartboard. Uncle Flognut's having breakfast. Joe Bobo, same. Tennessee is nice. Cars. Well, cars are like children. They can be expensive. I'm doing good, I'm always doing good, and whatever limitations I have are opportunities to expand my abilities. That's what limitations are. Have you heard anything from John? Oh, I have a sense that John is my trolls, Yo-Yo and there's 2 other trolls, and they speak just like John. And when I leave comments on John's videos and those people comment on my comments, John doesn't, but they do, and it's like coming from John's perspective. So that's kind of my sense of it. So John seems to be, again, he is conflicted. Parts of him are in this really angelic space, and the other is in this, really dark space. So I'm not really, I spent 3 years trying to be a good example and assistance and always there for him. But I'm fine where I'm here, and John's still my friend. I think the best of him. I think his videos are truly timeless in their own way. Most people can't really see what's in them because they're all about him. Well, my videos are all about you guys, and I tell you a story that you can identify with and that you go, because that's what a griot does, right? I am, and Laura, that's one of my things on my list to do in the next week, right? But get a guy, I have no idea how to do it. I have to go to my internet guru to help me do it, and he lives 40 miles away, and I have to drive 20 miles just to do this, so things are tough. I don't have the internet right there in the deep woods, which is great. I like having nothing. I really do. Except the evening. I wish I'm going to have to try and get my CBs working, because at night, after the sun goes down, I have the AM skip, and I can get Europe. I can get, up there, Finland and Mexico and Alaska and everything in between. And so that's, where I kind of listen to the BBC. And so Robinson, why are your messages restricted? I didn't restrict you, did I? No, because you made a comment, cars are a waste of money, and then the next one you make is, anyway. See, I have no idea about this stuff. So I just tell you stories and kind of read what you have to say. No problem, Al. Error. Okay, gotcha. Yes, I make mistakes all the time, so I can identify. Oh, 1 hour, 21 minutes. Come on, more likes than 2. Come on. Go get some more, guys, you should watch this together. You should have a Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Albai, YouTube club in your neighborhood. Make it a salon, You can come and watch it. You don't have to wait till I do it live. They're all live. You can, I got more than 700 of these shows. Get yourself, everyone gets a dartboard, throws it at it, and watches it together. And then comments on that show. I'd love more comments on all the shows. I'd love more thumbs up. I'd love more folks being subscribers. Then you can be the cadre. And, time is ticking down. We got 14 months in this window of opportunity. And it won't be that the window of opportunity is going to close. It's just going to shift. Right now, it is what it is. And if you guys were to get more, start doing things in your neighborhood, potluck dinners, discussion groups, go to groups that already exist in your neighborhood, political groups, social groups, all of the above, and then bring it back to the cadre and make comments about the life around you that would make you the griot. And that's the sensei and the adept. The relationship is supposed to be, backwards and forwards. One day the sensei gives the lesson, and then the next the adept does. And that's the whole relationship between a sensei and adept. That's how the adept becomes a, there's adept, and then there's journeyman, and then there is master, and then there is sensei. Well, it's sensei, then master. Okay. So about 1 hour, 30 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm going to say goodbye. That's in about 9 minutes from now. So got anything to say? Say it now. So I want you guys to go to a guy named Chris Hedges. Go see Jimmy Dore, pretty good. Joe Rogan. Go look at my playlist. There's a ton of really good videos of other people's channels there. Right? Check it out. And it's 2:00 now, okay? So I'm gonna get going. So I will try maybe tomorrow or Sunday. Tomorrow, probably. Around 10, 11 my time. Okay? Okay. Love you guys. Too many trolls. This is true. But, that's way I've seen about trolls is, and Robinson, you can, and anybody wants to talk to me personally, go to the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Now, the trolls really love to just stack it up there. And I just say, oh, what's wrong, honey bunny? What's wrong? Come on, it's all right. It's okay. I love you. Love you. That's the best way to get rid of trolls. I love you. It's okay. Don't you know when you talk like this, you're just talking about yourself. And that's what Lacan, he was French Freud. Freud said everything's about sex. Jung said everything's the collective unconscious. And Lacan, the French Freud, said every time you talk about somebody else, you know what your problem is? It's exactly your problem. It's like this, you're like, your thumb is pointing at you, your finger is pointing at somebody else. So that's why I try not to talk negatively about anybody. Like whenever I talk about John, I'm always, I believe in him. I think he's a great filmmaker. I think he's a great creative mind. I think he tortures himself, and you don't have to. You don't have to torture yourself. And, that's why he's a great lesson for everyone, see, see the beauty of John and what not to do in your life right there. That's the beauty of John. That's why he is the canary in the social coal mine right in front of us, right? So, he's, his parents are paying all his bills. He lives on top of this beautiful place. There's all this spiritual energy, which he's kind of knocking down, because he's always talking about himself. He's not going in communion. Like if you go back, and I don't know if he's taken down, but I probably did 10 or 20 shamanic shows on John's channel of showing the energetics of the hill. There's one of the cave where, the opening of the cave is that big. But inside it goes out to like a gigantic underground thing, spiritual, where a lot of spirits live. And I took you into it. Right? Now, maybe tomorrow or Sunday, maybe tomorrow, because I'll be in a place that's a little more quieter than this, energetically, we'll go to that cave, and I can have you visualize it and go there. And I can take you, there are other, there's some real great energetic spots around here. I'll show you them. But so John really has this amazing place, and that deer is coming to him saying, "Hey, buddy, I'm here to help you out. I'm here to help you. I'm here as a friend of owls because he cares for you and he wants you to be happy. I'm here to help you do that." And we'll see what John does with that. Okay. Okay. Love you guys. Okay, I guess I'm gonna. Love the day, Bob. Yep. See you, Robinson. See you, Twitchy. Lana, love you, girl. Love everybody. Bug nuts. So I'll see you tomorrow around between 10 and 11 my time, whatever that is, your time. Okay? Okay, gang.